Okeho, a tale of unity, resistance, and legacy. The root of 11. In the ancient forest and rugged hills of what is now southwestern Nigeria, 11 independent communities thrived. These communities Ejemu, Elejelu, Oganla, Alubo, Ajobo, Isia, Imoba, Olele, Ota, Isemi, and Ijo each had its own Oba, priesthood, and traditions. Life in these villages was guided by ancestral spirits, Yoruba deities, and respect for lineage and the land. The 18th and early 19th centuries brought great upheaval to Yorubaland. The once mighty Oyo Empire, stretched too thin and weakened by internal strife, began to crumble. With its fall came waves of war, slave raids, and Fulani jihadist invasions. No single village could resist these threats alone. Faced with chaos, the 11 communities held a historic meeting. For the first time, they decided to unify not just in alliance, but in space. They would climb the hills and settle as one. A new town would be born, and they would name it Okeho, the assembly on the hill. Building the hill town. Perched atop the rocky hills, Okeho was designed for defense. The builders dug trenches and raised thick walls from stone and red clay. They created watchtowers and narrow entrances, hidden paths for escape, and central shrines to their collective gods. Each of the 11 lineages contributed warriors, builders, and priests. It was not easy. Customs clashed. Disputes erupted over land, leadership, and ritual precedence. But over time, the people of Okeho forged a new identity, an identity born of necessity and tempered by shared survival. They formed a council of elders, with representatives from each community. Decisions were made through consensus, and spiritual ceremonies blended traditions. This fusion created a cultural richness. Names from the old villages survived, but children began to say they were from Okeho, not from Imoba or Ajobo. A new people were emerging. The whispering forest and distant wars. As the 19th century wore on, Okeho remained resilient. The Keriji War, a decades-long conflict among Yoruba subgroups, raged across the land. Okeho, while not a central battlefield, sent warriors and emissaries. Its leaders argued for peace and unity. More threats loomed from colonial encroachment. British explorers, missionaries, and colonial officers began entering Yoruba territory. With them came new languages, religions, and political structures. While some communities welcomed Christianity or trade, others feared cultural erosion. Okeho walked a delicate line. Churches were built, but traditional shrines remained active. The people engaged with colonial agents, but resisted domination. The crisis of 1916. The breaking point came when the British colonial administration imposed an unpopular ruler, Bail Olagboji, over Okeho. Chosen not by the people, but by colonial fiat, Olagboji's rule was seen as illegitimate. Tensions grew until, in a bold act of rebellion, Bail Olagboji was killed by locals. The British responded swiftly. Troops stormed the hilltop, arrested community leaders, and in a show of colonial force, burned old Okeho. The people were forcibly resettled at the foot of the hills. The new Okeho was laid out on colonial maps, structured along grid lines, with roads, markets, and administrative buildings. Yet, despite these changes, the spirit of Okeho was not extinguished. The soul of a town. Okeho rebuilt itself not just in buildings, but in spirit. Festivals like Okeho Day honor the unity of the 11 villages. Family lineages told stories of the old hilltop town, and children were brought to Okeho Isle to see the ruins, touch the stones, and feel the wind. Traditional religion, Christianity, and Islam coexisted. Markets bustled with traders from Saki, Iseyin, and beyond. The people of Okeho excelled in education, politics, and commerce. Some became judges, professors, and national leaders. The story of Okeho became a symbol, not just of survival, but of adaptation, how communities could unite against threats, protect their traditions, and yet face the future with open hands. The legacy continues. Today, Okeho is part of Kojola local government area in Oyo State. The original hill Okeho remains a pilgrimage site. Scholars study it. Elders revere it. Festivals bring diaspora sons and daughters back home. The memory of the 11 communities endures in family names, clan titles, and oral histories. New generations grew up hearing the tale of the town that defied war, colonialism, and division. To be from Okeho is to inherit a legacy of courage, unity, and resilience. The hill may no longer be the town center, but it remains its heart. The living heritage. In the early morning hours, Okeho stirs. Roosters crow across the farmlands as traders begin laying out wares in the markets. The smell of hot akara and freshly ground pepper wafts through the streets. Generations live together in family compounds, grandparents telling stories in the shade, children chasing one another around mortar and pestle grinding stations. This is the rhythm of life in Okeho. But underneath the daily bustle lies a consciousness of heritage. Elders gather under the Odin tree to discuss clan matters. Griots recite Oriki praise poetry that calls forth the spirits of ancestors. Every 5 years, a festival known as Okeho gathers descendants from across Nigeria and abroad. Masquerades emerge in brilliant colors. Drums batter, talking drums, gong echo into the hills. Dances reenact the journey of the 11 founding villages. The lineages speak. The descendants of the founding villages maintain their identity. The Ajobo people are known as warriors and farmers, their compound near the riverbank full of plantain groves. Isia boasts renowned blacksmiths, passing the craft down through generations. Elejelu houses the chief herbalist, their compounds thick with medicinal herbs. Each lineage has a role, not just historically but in contemporary life. The Council of Elders still meets, though now joined by local government officials and youth leaders. Disputes are settled through dialogue, using wisdom refined over centuries. Okeho in the modern era. Education became Okeho's beacon in the 20th century. Mission schools gave rise to scholars and administrators. The town produced some of the first Western-trained lawyers and doctors in the region. Yet, alongside these modern strides, the town retained its reverence for the past. Okeho's indigenes excel in business, academia, the arts, and civil service. The diaspora maintains active connections, funding schools, scholarships, and health programs. The Okeho Development Association meets annually to discuss progress and development projects, ensuring the town's growth is people-led. Okeho Isle, a sacred climb. Climbing back to Okeho Isle, the original hilltop, is a sacred journey. Pilgrims touch the ancient stones. Youths hear the oral history retold in vivid detail. The foundations of old walls remain, half covered by vines, speaking silently of resistance and pride. Offerings are made at the central shrine, prayers spoken in both Yoruba and English. It is not just memory, it is continuity. To walk the path up to Okeho Isle is to walk in the footsteps of ancestors who defied warlords, resisted colonialism, and forged unity from diversity. It is a reminder that the past lives not only in stories but in the people who remember.